A camera stationed deep in Antarctica captured something that has since sent chills down the spines of scientists and experts worldwide. What could be so terrifying that it has the potential to change everything we thought we knew about this remote, frozen continent? Join us as we explore the mystery behind Antarctica and its strangest discoveries. Underground river. Deep beneath the thick ice of Antarctica, scientists have made an incredible discovery: a massive underground river stretching 285 miles. This river was found using special technology called ice-penetrating radar. Researchers flew over the icy landscape, sending signals deep into the ground. When the signals bounced back, they revealed something unexpected: a hidden water system flowing beneath the frozen surface. Unlike rivers on land, this one moves under thousands of feet of ice. It flows beneath 4 giant ice streams: the Institute Ice Stream, Molar Ice Stream, Support Force Glacier, and Foundation Ice Stream. This river, known as subglacial water, is not powered by rainfall or surface meltwater. Instead, it is primarily fed by the pressure from the overlying ice sheet, which melts the base of the ice and allows water to flow beneath it. What makes this discovery even more important is the size of the river's catchment area, the land from which it collects water. This area is as large as France and Germany combined. Such a massive underground water system could affect the way ocean currents move around the planet. It could also change how ice sheets behave, which is crucial in understanding climate change. The most concerning part is what could happen if this hidden river system melts completely. If all the water trapped in Antarctica's ice were to melt, scientists estimate it could contribute to a rise in global sea levels of approximately 200 feet. That would have devastating effects on coastal cities worldwide. While this process wouldn't happen overnight, it adds to the growing concerns about the impact of a warming planet. Scientists are now studying this underground river closely to understand its role in Antarctica's future. Ghost mountains. Scientists have made an amazing discovery deep under Antarctica's ice: a hidden mountain range called the Gamburtsev Mountains. These mountains, similar in size to the European Alps, are buried beneath 2.5 miles of solid ice. Researchers found them using special radar technology that can see through the ice. When the radar scans were analyzed, they revealed something no one expected: towering peaks and deep valleys, completely hidden from view. One of the biggest mysteries about these mountains is how they have remained so sharp and jagged. Normally, mountains wear down over time due to wind, rain, and glaciers scraping against them. However, the Gamburtsev Mountains still have their sharp edges. This suggests that they have been covered in ice for a very long time, protecting them from erosion. Recent studies suggest that the Antarctic ice sheet may have formed more rapidly than previously thought, but more research is needed to fully understand its formation timeline. Another surprising fact is how old these mountains might be. The Alps are approximately 50 to 60 million years old, whereas the Gamburtsev Mountains could be as old as 500 million years, based on geological evidence suggesting their origins during the Gondwana supercontinent. That means they may have existed before the time of the dinosaurs and could be older than the Himalayas. Scientists are still trying to figure out exactly how they formed. Normally, mountain ranges are created when tectonic plates crash into each other, like when India pushed into Asia to form the Himalayas. But Antarctica has been geologically quiet for millions of years, making the existence of these hidden peaks even more mysterious. Strange bacterium. In Antarctica, scientists discovered microorganisms that can survive in extreme conditions, including those that can utilize trace gases like methane and hydrogen in the atmosphere, a process known as chemotrophy. Unlike most living things, these tiny microbes do not need sunlight, organic food, or geothermal energy to stay alive. These bacteria were found in the soil of some of the harshest places in Antarctica, where almost nothing else can survive. Researchers took soil samples from remote, ice-free regions like Robinson Ridge and Adams Flat. These areas are incredibly dry, cold, and exposed to strong UV radiation. Normally, life struggles to exist in such extreme conditions, but these microbes have adapted in a way that seems almost impossible. The way these bacteria survive is fascinating. Most organisms need a source of energy, like sunlight for plants or organic food for animals and other microbes. However, these Antarctic bacteria can extract energy from tiny amounts of hydrogen and carbon monoxide in the air. This means they can live in places where there is no food, no warmth, and almost no water. This discovery also changes the way scientists think about life on other planets. If bacteria can survive in such extreme conditions on Earth, similar microbes might exist on Mars or Europa, one of Jupiter's icy moons. Both of these places have harsh, cold environments with little available energy, just like Antarctica. Ice circles. In 2010, unusual patterns, including ice circles, were observed on Antarctica's surface, but the formation of these patterns is still not fully understood. They were not specifically massive spirals, but some were round formations caused by wind or ice movement. Some of the circles were only a few feet wide, while others stretched for miles. The entire formation covered an area of about 18 square miles. Scientists, artists, and conspiracy theorists all had different ideas about what caused this unusual sight. One possible explanation is that the circles were human-made. Artist Jim Denovan is known for creating large-scale geometric art in nature. That same year, he and a team of artists traveled to Lake Baikal to create what they hoped would be the world's largest drawing. Using simple tools, they spent 15 days carefully carving a series of circles into the ice. Their goal was to create a massive spiral pattern, starting with small circles and gradually increasing in size. Many believe this project explains the mystery. Others argue that the circles could have formed naturally. Some scientists suggest geothermal activity beneath the lake may have caused the ice to melt in circular patterns. Another possibility is that shifting ice sheets and temperature changes created cracks and fractures that resulted in strange formations. However, not everyone is convinced by these explanations. Some people believe the circles were not made by humans or nature, but are instead a sign of extraterrestrial activity. They claim the perfectly shaped spirals look too precise to be random, and suggest they could be a message from an unknown intelligence. Others believe the formations could be linked to unusual geological forces deep beneath the lake. Doomsday Glacier. Thwaites Glacier, often called the Doomsday Glacier, is one of the most dangerous glaciers on Earth. It is located in West Antarctica and is melting faster than any other glacier. Scientists gave it this nickname because if it collapses, it could cause a disaster for coastal cities around the world. Thwaites Glacier is extremely important because it acts like a giant cork holding back the massive West Antarctic ice sheet. This means that if Thwaites melts completely, it could trigger the melting of even more ice behind it. Experts say this could lead to a sea level rise of over 10 feet, which would flood major cities like New York, London, and Shanghai. Millions of people could be forced to leave their homes. The glacier is already in serious trouble. It is melting from below due to warm ocean water sneaking underneath it. Researchers have found major cracks in the ice, and some parts are disintegrating more rapidly than they had anticipated. The rate at which it is retreating has doubled in the past 30 years. If it collapses, the world's sea levels could rise much sooner than scientists originally thought. Thwaites Glacier is a ticking time bomb. To understand how much time we have left, scientists are drilling into the glacier's underbelly. They are using robots, underwater cameras, and advanced sensors to study the ice from below. Their goal is to predict when and how the glacier will collapse. Giant Pyramid. In 2009, satellite images revealed a strange pyramid-shaped structure in Antarctica. This discovery sparked debates and wild theories. Some people believe it is proof of an ancient lost civilization, while others think it could be evidence of alien activity. However, most scientists say it is just a natural rock formation. The idea that a pyramid exists in Antarctica is exciting. Some claim that it was built by an ancient civilization that once lived on the continent before it was covered in ice. Others suggest that aliens may have been involved, using the structure as a base. These theories spread quickly, especially on the internet, where people love mysteries and hidden history. However, scientists have a much simpler explanation. They say the so-called pyramid is actually a nunatak, a mountain peak that sticks out above a glacier. Over millions of years, wind and ice erosion may have shaped the peak into a pyramid-like form. Many similar formations exist in nature, including in the Arctic and other icy regions. Experts also point out that our brains often play tricks on us. This is called pareidolia, where people see familiar shapes, like faces or objects in random patterns. Just like we see animals in clouds or faces on the moon, the pyramid in Antarctica is likely just a mountain that happens to look like a man-made structure. South Sandwich Trench. The South Sandwich Trench is one of the deepest parts of the ocean, located in the South Atlantic near the remote South Sandwich Islands. This underwater trench is not as famous as the Mariana Trench, but it is just as mysterious. Scientists have only recently begun to explore its depths, and there is still much to learn. This trench was formed by a process called tectonic subduction. This happens when one massive piece of the Earth's crust, called a tectonic plate, slowly slides under another. Over millions of years, this movement created a deep, narrow trench on the ocean floor. The South Sandwich Trench is about 5.3 miles deep, making it one of the deepest places on Earth. The environment inside this trench is extreme. The water pressure at the bottom is incredibly high, hundreds of times greater than at the ocean surface. It is also freezing cold, with temperatures close to the freezing point of seawater. Despite these harsh conditions, scientists believe that life may exist in this hidden world. Similar deep-sea trenches have revealed bizarre creatures like giant amphipods, snailfish, and strange jellyfish. Scientists are eager to find out what might be lurking in the South Sandwich Trench. Exploring this trench is difficult because of its remote location and harsh conditions. However, new technology, like deep-sea robots and submarines, is allowing researchers to explore more than ever before. Studying these deep-sea environments helps us understand how life survives in extreme places, both on Earth and possibly even on other planets. The South Sandwich Trench remains one of the least explored places on our planet, holding secrets that scientists are still trying to uncover. Ancient fire. Scientists found evidence suggesting that ancient forest fires might have occurred in Antarctica, indicated by charred plant fossils. This might sound hard to believe given that today Antarctica is known for being an icy, frozen desert. However, about 75 million years ago, during the Cretaceous period, Antarctica looked completely different. It was a lush, warm place full of life, much more similar to the forests we see in temperate regions today. During the Cretaceous, Antarctica had forests of towering trees, and the climate was much milder than it is now. Fossils of ancient ferns and tree trunks have been found, along with evidence that fire played a big role in the ecosystem back then. These charred remains show that wildfires swept across the land in ancient times, much like fires we see today in forested regions. So, what caused these ancient fires? The most likely explanation is active volcanic eruptions. During this time, the Earth's tectonic plates were shifting and volcanic activity was high. When volcanoes erupted, they released enormous amounts of heat and ash into the air. This could have created the perfect conditions for wildfires. The heat from volcanic eruptions could have contributed to conditions favorable for forest fires in ancient Antarctica, especially because the vegetation at the time was more flammable than today's plants. South Pole Hole. The South Pole Hole, also known as a polynya, is a strange and mysterious phenomenon that has puzzled scientists. It refers to massive holes that appear in the ice, only to disappear again after some time. These holes are not something you would expect to see in Antarctica, the coldest place on Earth, but they are real, and they have been spotted several times over the years. One of the most surprising occurrences happened in 2017 when a hole as large as 3,700 square miles suddenly appeared. This was particularly odd because it showed up during Antarctica's coldest months, when the ice should have been at its thickest. Imagine a huge patch of ocean, larger than some countries, suddenly being exposed to the melting ice. Scientists have been trying to figure out what causes these polynyas. They believe it has something to do with cyclonic storms, extreme winds, and shifting sea currents. Cyclones, which are powerful rotating storms, can create conditions that push the sea ice away from the surface. This lets the water underneath stay open and melt the ice. The strong winds that come with these storms also play a role by pushing the ice around, making it easier for a hole to form. Interestingly, while the polynyas seem to appear and disappear in irregular patterns, they have been happening for a long time. Some scientists think these events could be important to understand how climate patterns in the region work. They also may tell us how the Antarctic ice sheet is reacting to changes in the environment. Ice Age fossils. As the ice in Antarctica melts, it's revealing incredible fossil finds that offer us a rare look into Earth's ancient past. Some of the most fascinating discoveries include the remains of long-extinct creatures like the woolly mammoth and the saber-toothed cat, animals that once roamed the Earth long before humans ever existed. Woolly mammoths are closely related to modern elephants, but they lived during the Ice Age and were adapted to survive cold climates. These massive creatures had thick fur, large tusks, and lived in areas that are now frozen tundra. They went extinct around 10,000 years ago, possibly due to a combination of climate change and overhunting by early humans. Interestingly, their remains have been found scattered across various environments, from riverbeds to lakes. Some of the most well-preserved fossils have been found in places like Doggerland, a landmass that was once above water but is now submerged beneath the North Sea. One of the most astonishing finds is the discovery of frozen mammoth bodies in Siberia and Alaska's permafrost. These well-preserved remains give scientists a glimpse into the ancient ecosystems they lived in. The discovery of entire mammoth herds wiped out at once suggests that natural disasters, like floods or volcanic eruptions, may have played a part in their extinction. The saber-toothed cat, also known as Smilodon, was a fearsome predator from the Ice Age. With its dagger-like fangs, it hunted large herbivores like mammoths. Unlike modern cats such as tigers, the saber-toothed cat was part of a different family of big cats. Fossils of these creatures have been uncovered, helping scientists understand how these predators lived and how they adapted to the harsh environments of the time. Iceberg carving. Iceberg carving is the process where chunks of ice break off from an ice shelf, forming icebergs. This event is important for understanding how Antarctica's glaciers and ice shelves behave and how they affect global sea levels. The Ross Ice Shelf, one of Antarctica's largest ice shelves, has been under close observation for years due to its significance in the study of climate change. One of the most significant carving events took place in 2020 when a massive iceberg broke off from the Ross Ice Shelf. This iceberg, named A81, came after years of monitoring a growing crack called Chasm 1. This crack had been dormant for decades but began to grow in 2012, and by 2016 it met another crack known as the Halloween crack. Together, these cracks formed the perfect path for the carving event to happen. Scientists closely tracked the cracks and the carving process using satellite images from the European Space Agency's Sentinel satellites. These images confirmed the break, and the new iceberg was given the name A81. Some smaller pieces of ice that broke off from A81 were named A81A and A82, following a systematic naming convention for icebergs in Antarctica. While iceberg carving events like this are a natural part of the behavior of the Ross Ice Shelf, scientists are still monitoring these events carefully. The Halley 6 research station, which was originally at risk, was moved in 2017 to a safer location, 20 kilometers away from the crack. While the carving event itself didn't directly impact global sea levels, it's important because it shows how the region is constantly changing. In February 2021, another giant iceberg split off from the Ross Ice Shelf, highlighting the dynamic nature of this region. Scientists continue to study these events to better understand their impact on sea levels and global climate change. Ancient DNA. In 2019, scientists made an incredible discovery in Antarctica: fragments of DNA that are more than 1 million years old. These tiny genetic pieces were found in deep-sea sediments, the layers of mud and particles at the bottom of the ocean surrounding Antarctica. This discovery is important because it provides new clues about the region's past, especially its climate and ecosystems. So how were these ancient DNA fragments preserved for so long? The cold temperatures of Antarctica played a key role. The ice-cold conditions helped prevent the DNA from breaking down, while the low oxygen levels and lack of UV radiation also kept it intact. In other words, Antarctica's extreme environment worked like a natural freezer, allowing scientists to find genetic material that otherwise would have disappeared. What does this ancient DNA reveal? The fragments come from tiny marine life, particularly plankton, which are small organisms that float in the ocean. Scientists believe these ancient plankton were part of massive population booms that happened in Antarctica's distant past. By studying the DNA, researchers can learn about the climate cycles that occurred millions of years ago. They have found that plankton flourished during warmer periods, which suggests that Antarctica's climate has gone through dramatic changes over time. Ring of Fire. Antarctica is known for its vast ice sheets, but recent discoveries have revealed something surprising beneath the frozen surface: 91 hidden volcanoes. These volcanoes, buried deep under the thick ice, were uncovered using ice-penetrating radar. The radar technology can see through the ice and map out features beneath the surface, including basalt peaks, which are signs of volcanic activity. So why is this discovery so important? First, these volcanoes are hidden from view, so scientists didn't know about them until recently, but their presence has a huge impact on understanding Antarctica's geology. These volcanoes form a part of a ring of fire, a term usually used for volcanic activity around the Pacific Ocean, but in Antarctica, the ring is hidden under miles of ice. Some of these volcanoes may still be active, although they are not erupting right now. The potential dangers are significant. If one of these volcanoes were to erupt, it could cause massive disruptions. The heat from an eruption could accelerate glacial melting, causing the ice sheets to melt faster. This would add more water to the oceans, leading to rising sea levels. Some scientists even worry about a supervolcano eruption, which could be even more catastrophic. Such an eruption could destabilize the ice sheets and speed up melting on an even larger scale. Impossible phytoplankton. For a long time, scientists believed that life couldn't survive in the extreme conditions of Antarctica. After all, it's one of the coldest, windiest places on Earth, with icy waters and long periods of total darkness. How could any living thing thrive in such a harsh environment? Well, this assumption was challenged by a team of scientists led by Christopher Horvat, a physicist from the University of Auckland. Horvat and his team were curious if life could survive in Antarctica's waters, just like similar discoveries were being made in the Arctic. In the Arctic, researchers had found that tiny organisms called phytoplankton were able to live in freezing waters, using the little sunlight that made it through the ice. This got them thinking, could something similar happen in Antarctica, which is surrounded by thick sea ice for much of the year? The team used special tools called BCG Argo floats. These tools are a bit like underwater robots that can dive beneath the ice and collect samples over an extended period of time. From 2014 to 2021, they sent these floats to over 2,000 dives under Antarctica's sea ice. The floats were designed to measure things like temperature and the amount of sunlight getting through the ice, but they also collected tiny water samples that could reveal whether any life forms were living there. The researchers were specifically looking for a certain pigment that's found in all phytoplankton. Phytoplankton, like plants, use sunlight to create energy. When scientists find this pigment in the water, they know there's life there. This pigment served as a clear indicator of where phytoplankton were thriving. About 88% of the samples showed an increase in phytoplankton biomass just before the sea ice retreated. This was a huge discovery. It meant that, even in Antarctica's freezing waters, phytoplankton were not only surviving but thriving. This discovery was groundbreaking because it showed that life could persist in some of the harshest conditions on Earth. Phytoplankton are at the base of the food chain in the ocean. If they can survive in Antarctica, it opens up the possibility that life might exist in other extreme environments, even beyond Earth. Bloodfalls. One of the most mysterious and fascinating features of Antarctica is bloodfalls, a crimson waterfall that seems to bleed from the Taylor Glacier. This strange phenomenon has intrigued scientists and visitors alike. The falls get their unique red color from an iron-rich hypersaline lake buried beneath the glacier. The water from this lake contains high levels of iron and salt, making it unlike any water you would find on the surface. When the water from the lake is exposed to the air, it begins to oxidize. The iron reacts with oxygen in the air, turning the water a striking red color, hence the name bloodfalls. The lake itself is quite special because it has been sealed off under the ice for millions of years, never coming into contact with the outside world. What makes bloodfalls even more interesting is the life it contains. The subglacial lake has been isolated for so long that it has preserved ancient microbes that have adapted to the extreme conditions. These microbes live without sunlight and survive in a cold, dark, and salty environment. This makes the falls an important place for researchers who are studying life in extreme conditions. By learning about these microbes, scientists can gain insight into how life might exist in similar conditions on other planets, like Mars or Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. McMurdo Dry Valleys. The McMurdo Dry Valleys in Antarctica are one of the driest and most extreme places on Earth. These valleys are almost completely devoid of life, and there is very little water or snow. Because of this, they are often compared to Mars, a barren, lifeless planet. The valleys are a place where scientists can study how life might survive on other planets that have very harsh conditions. One of the most fascinating things about the McMurdo Valleys is how some bacteria manage to survive in such an extreme environment. There are endolithic bacteria, which live inside the rocks. These bacteria are unique because they don't need sunlight or much water. They find their home inside the cracks and pores of the rocks, where they are protected from the harsh conditions outside. Scientists study these bacteria to learn how life could survive on planets like Mars, where sunlight is limited and water is scarce. In addition to these unique microbes, one of the valleys, University Valley, was discovered to be completely lifeless. There were no active microbes at all, making it the first truly lifeless place on Earth. This makes the valleys even more valuable for scientific research. By studying the dry valleys, we can understand what makes a place completely lifeless and compare it to other planets, helping us figure out where life might exist outside Earth. And that's a wrap on some of the strangest discoveries ever made in Antarctica. Who knows what else is still waiting to be uncovered beneath all that ice? If you enjoyed learning about these incredible discoveries, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more amazing stories from around the world.